Dodgers 4-3 with a run in the bottom of the 8th that ends LA's 6-game winning streak. Kansas City won its 9th in a row, 5-3 at Toronto. Boston won in 11 innings at Miami.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Bowen, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Chambers delivers! Touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into another edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We got a fun show for you guys today. The gloves are coming off in the SEC. Greg Sankey, round of applause. You finally grew a pair of gonads. Finally. And you still played second fiddle to the Big Ten. You still let Tony Petitti and the Big Ten beat you out on what was probably the most obvious decision that should have happened in college football, in collegiate sports in general, at least with the SEC. So we'll talk about that here today as well. At 1:15, Brooks Austin, the film guy, is going to jump on with us here and help us break down some of these SEC quarterback announcements as we now know the five new starters in the SEC. Faison Brandon, at Tennessee, Keelan Russell at Alabama, KJ Jackson at Arkansas, Aaron Philo at Florida, and Blaze Berlowitz at Vanderbilt. So, going to be a lot of fun here today on the program. A little bit of some scheduling throughout the rest of this week. Tomorrow, Thursday, gentlemen, it's a game week. We got college football this weekend. We have a ranked team playing this weekend, not just college football. It's not little Bobo, FCS football, although there's a lot of good games at the FCS level, a lot of good teams at the FCS level. We got real football being played this weekend here, and it starts at 11 o'clock on ESPN in Dublin, Ireland with North Carolina and TCU. Going to be a fun weekend, but tomorrow, gentlemen, we're picking football games.
So what I'm hearing you say is we're back.
Yes, we're back. We're better than ever. We've never been more back than we are right now. I guess I take that back. We're going
to be a little more back next Thursday.
We'll be a little more back tomorrow when we actually get to pick these games, right? You've got a lot of fun games coming up here on the slate. Was doing some research the other night. I've told a couple of people this story here, but we were doing a little bit of research last night for some of these week 0 games. And gentlemen, Whitman, I just talked to you about this, so don't answer this question. Reed, do you know who the starting quarterback is at Stanford?
Ooh, that's actually a great question.
Who's playing in week 0?
I'm gonna say no. I don't think I do.
That would be former Michigan Wolverine Davis Warren.
Really?
Is going to be the starting quarterback for Stanford this season here.
Wow, I did not know that. Yeah, I'm actually, I don't know if you could tell, I'm genuinely surprised.
So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole as I was doing this research, right? Stanford plays in week number 0 here on Saturday. So perusing the Stanford roster, I find Davis Warren. And I go and check, and yes, he is the starting quarterback at Stanford for this upcoming season, or at least he will be in week number 0. And so, turns out, he had suffered a season-ending injury prior to last season, so he got the medical red shirt, and he's back in college football for another season here. But this is the rabbit hole I went down, right? Go back to that ReliaQuest poll. I know we don't want to, but let's do it. Davis Warren starts that football game against Alabama. Davis Warren gets hurt on a James Smith sack. James Smith now plays at Ohio State. Who comes in for Davis Warren? Do we remember what guy filled in for Davis Warren in the second half and had 2 total passing yards and still beat Alabama?
Yes. Was it Alex Orji?
It was Alex Orji, who is now competing with former Oklahoma and Auburn quarterback Jackson Arnold at UNLV for that starting quarterback competition. And UNLV is led by former Mississippi State and Florida head coach Dan Mullen. Wonderful world of college football. But this isn't where my rabbit hole stopped. As I'm perusing the Stanford roster here, I discovered that they've got a guy on this roster who plays running back from Picayune, Mississippi, named Chris Davis. Do we know why that name is significant in college football?
Stop it. It's because he had a couple of really good seasons with the Baltimore Orioles as a first baseman, okay? We are not. He also, different Chris Davis, and still not that one, batted .247 4 straight seasons in a row. That is who Chris Davis is. There are two Chris Davises. They both play professional baseball. There are multiple. One made millions and millions of dollars with the Baltimore Orioles. Led the MLB in home runs a couple of years. And the other one, big power guy for the Oakland A's. And, seriously, I kid you not, batted .247 4 years in a row. However, no other Chris Davis seemingly comes to mind, Wyatt. Hate to burst your bubble.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. All right. So there's a guy named Chris Davis Jr. on the Stanford roster. And in my head, I go, ain't no way in hell. No shot. Turns out that's not his kid. However, it is not the kid. But I thought, Picayune, Mississippi, it's relatively, it's only a state over. Maybe, Chris is a coach in Mississippi. And then this is how things played out. Not quite, not exactly. But that did lead me down the rabbit hole of where is Chris Davis, the one that we don't want to remember very well in Tuscaloosa. Turns out he's the defensive backs coach at Pinson Valley. He does have a kid named Chris Davis III, who plays at Spain Park. He transferred there after playing 2 years at Hewitt-Trussville High School, for Hewitt-Trussville High School here in the state of Alabama. His kid also plays running back, about 5'10", and he holds a lot of Power 4 offers. Like Oregon, Tennessee, UCF, SMU, Auburn.
If you're Kalen DeBoer
and Georgia,
do you offer the kid? Because
you kind of have to.
On one hand,
he's an in-state kid, and he's the number 11 player in the state of Alabama.
I've got some thoughts that could go both ways on that. The argument for you don't do it is it's kind of what makes college football great. You don't take
you are not offering him.
You don't take Kick Six Jr. You just don't do that at Alabama. You do not give that kid a scholarship. The reason you do is because, the college football gods and the sports gods at that have a funny way.
They do.
Of making karma known. God forbid Bama goes on some 15-year run over Auburn. Chris Davis III is now like a redshirt sophomore. And there's an untimed down left in Jordan Hare. And they're at the 37, 38-yard line. Bama's got a kick to win.
I legitimately just ran down this random rabbit hole at 12:30 in the morning.
Alex Golish is coaching for his life, and he just goes, wouldn't this be something? Hey, Chris III, just go see what happens, man.
Let's just see what happens. No, legitimately though, just ran down this random rabbit hole. I was legitimately doing research for week 0, trying to figure out, okay, does Stanford have somebody that is of some substance at quarterback who, has kind of been learning under the wings of Andrew Luck over there? Or is he, they just have some guy making his first career start? No, it's a veteran guy, and literally was going to exit out of the Stanford roster after learning that Davis Warren was the starting quarterback with his 6 year of eligibility. And suddenly I saw Picayune, Mississippi on the Stanford roster. And I was like, wait a minute, Mississippi on Stanford's roster? That don't make a lot of sense. I know we live in Alabama, and don't throw stones from glass houses, but Mississippi on Stanford's roster? And then I saw the name and I was like, oh snap. Please don't be the guy that I think it is, because I'm going to feel really old. Because the kid's like a sophomore, right? And this is no shade at Chris Davis Jr. on Stanford. Legitimately, just Vietnam flashback hit me, and it was like, oh my God, there's no shot that this is the same guy. It's not. But I did learn that Chris Davis has a kid who plays for Spain Park and is currently being recruited by multiple Power 4 schools, including 3 SEC teams in Tennessee, Auburn, and Georgia. Currently projected to go to Georgia, by the way.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at that, and me and Whitman in here, when you were breaking that down, we were both like, there's no way, right? And then as soon as you were building up, I'm like, oh gosh, this is this guy's son, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Lord, it's not. But no, I think naturally, though, like falling down those kind of rabbit holes, especially going into week 0, because I had something similar too where, no joke, like I started in like one of the first, it wasn't the first game of the season, but it was one of the first few games of the season. And lo and behold, I find myself into a completely different sport. I'm like, how did I even get here?
It's like, how did I get here? How did I get here? Yeah, no, absolutely. So, but regardless, week 0 picks, they're coming tomorrow. We'll do those picks live on the air here on Thursday. Friday, we'll give our final predictions for the college football playoff, as well as our awards, our Heisman winner, Biletnikoff winner. You know, we'll do all of that on Friday, getting ready for the start of the college football season on Saturday.
Any chance you have last year's game pick stats on or around your person?
Not currently, but I know I won, so I'll see if I can figure that out.
You did win. Who was second?
I'll see if I can. It was either you or Jackson, and I can't remember. I've got it in my notebook at the house, so I'll take a look at that, and I'll bring up those stats tomorrow here when we do our game picks. We'll go ahead and take our first time out here for our radio listeners, because the film guy, Brooks Austin, is going to be joining us next right here on the Deep South College Football Show on a beautiful Wednesday in Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and 12:30.
With Squarespace, you can do more than just build a website. You can build a business. Squarespace helps restaurants and hotels showcase signature offerings and experiences. And with Squarespace, consultants and photographers can create invoices to collect well-earned payments. You can even send email newsletters to keep in touch with your loyal customers. Done. So grow your business at squarespace.com. Get started with offer code MAKEITREAL for 10% off your website or domain.
$10,000 for a free consultation, no fees unless we win. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be formed is greater than that of other lawyers.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Sunshine here through the afternoon, 94. We'll see pop-up showers and storms developing through the afternoon. Storms will fade away through the night tonight, cooling down to 73. Thursday, warm and sticky, 92. Scattered showers and storms. And sunshine with an afternoon storm chance on Friday, 92. The weekend looks dry now, 94 on Saturday, 93 on Sunday. Richard DeWetting of the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 94 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Yes! Roll Tide all the time. This is Tide 100.9 and 12:30 AM WTBC, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show. Joining us now on the program, he's the host of the Film Guy Network. He is the Film Guy, new partner at On3, and just hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. It's Brooks Austin, now a friend of the program. Brooks, we appreciate you joining us, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Wyatt. 104,000 subscribers, and never would have thought we would have got to that. I started out in my garage with just a couple of panel walls, sweating it out in the middle. Like, could you imagine doing content in your garage in August in Georgia? Not fun. Now we're in my basement. We're doing all right now. A little bit of a come up. We're from the garage to the basement. Maybe one day I'll be in an actual studio, but no, we're blessed. That's for sure.
There's at least better air conditioning in the basement, right?
Slightly. When we sold our old home in Woodstock, we're walking through the garage, and the guy's like, Is that an HVAC? Like, did you put air conditioning in the garage? I'm like, yeah, I'm fat. Don't worry about it. It's just, I like to be cold while I sit in here by myself away from everybody. I just didn't want to explain to him. Yeah, actually, I'm a YouTube guy. It's like this is like 4 or 5 years ago, and there still felt like saying I'm a YouTube guy. People are like, oh, cool, you do stuff on YouTube. It's like, yeah, I do. I do a lot of stuff on YouTube, and it's blessed to pay the bills nowadays.
One of the best in the business. I'm constantly checking out your channel, and you dropped the Keelan Russell video here for Alabama fans, and immediately I checked that video out. It was a great breakdown, but just what have you seen from Keelan Russell in your film breakdowns that gives you a little confidence that, yeah, this is the right guy for Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously anybody who's seen any of the clips of him throwing a football know that he's immensely talented, right? Mm-hmm. the ball jumps out of this kid's hands. He's got that special, that flick, right? And I know we're on radio right now, so pantomiming the flick doesn't really do much. But no, he's got that special flick, right? The ball jumps. Okay, we all know that. We also all know that he was a 4x100 state champion on the track. Like, the dude can roll. We all know that. The things that I was more impressed with, and the reason we left it on the tape, right? Like, 9 times out of 10, if I'm watching high school tape, I'm throwing that stuff in the garbage at quarterback. Like, whatever you're doing in high school, you're probably not going to be able to do in college. You're definitely not going to be able to do on Sundays. Again, 9 times out of 10, I look at high school tape, and all I'm watching at the quarterback position is he big enough, tall enough, fast enough? Can he throw the football like we need him to? But what he's actually doing, I do not apply. Like, it just doesn't work. Because normally we're developing bad habits. We're spinning out of pockets. We're running around like a chicken with our head cut off because we're the best athlete on the field and we could just do it and get away with that. When you get to college, you're not going to be able to do any of that. So it's not really applicable. But when you watch his Duncanville tape, man, he's developing good habits. He's playing the position like you're supposed to, right? And I was expecting to see a whole bunch of clean pockets because he's playing for Duncanville. He's playing with like 1,700 other Power 5 football players is what it feels like. But that's not what you see. What you see is, on almost every play on his highlight tapes and on his clips, it's like somebody's getting beat up front. Somebody's getting pressure on the quarterback. And instead of just running around and running away from a defender, we make the guy miss within the confines of the pocket. We keep our eyes downfield. We step up in the pocket and we deliver strikes. And that translates. Those are good habits. That requires a lot of seasoning for most kids to understand, hey, going backwards is not good. It's not going to work for you. We need to go up. And it's so hard as a quarterback to have that trust and have that bravery, if you will, to like get up through the smoke of what seems to be a collapsing pocket and still deliver strikes. And this kid did that on a consistent basis at a high level. And I do think it is something that Kalen and Ryan Grubb are really, really good about identifying. If you watch all of their takes out of high school, all the kids that they recruit at the position, all these guys are refined pocket throwers because that's what the offense that they run requires. It's why I felt like they were so uncomfortable with Jalen Milroe at the position their first year because that's the antithesis of what he wants to do. It got to a point watching him on film where it was clear to me that they finally gave up on him progressing through reads. They became a 4-vert system, and they just said, hey, if Ryan Williams or so-and-so is not beating the corner now, your legs are the second read. Just take off and run because we can still be dynamic. We can still be explosive if that's going to be the case. But every other quarterback in their history, whether it be Fresno State, their years as an offensive coordinator, Indiana, when he gets to Fresno State as a head coach, Washington, and now when he gets here, all those guys are refined pocket throwers. And I have a tremendous amount of trust and respect for what they do at the position. They coach these kids to play it like they're going to have to play it on Sundays. When 9 times out of 10, when I'm watching college football, the offenses have been so bastardized to just be conducive to college. And I appreciate what they do offensively at Alabama. I always do.
You mentioned his high school tape and developing the good traits in high school that are going to translate to Saturdays. So what is going to be his biggest adjustment, at least in your opinion here, from Duncanville to 2 games at Alabama last season to now being named the full-time starter?
Yeah, and I don't know how much of what I'm about to talk about is because he was the 3 last year, and when he gets in, he's nervous and he feels like he's got to press and make plays. But way too many exposures to contact last year. We can't be doing that. Like, we can't do that at 6'5", 220 pounds. We damn sure can't do it at 6'3.5", 200 pounds. Like, he's not the thickest athlete in the world. And I don't know if he'll ever develop into that. Some of these kids don't get big. Some of these kids are what they are. They always will be. I always give the example of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant could eat my diet. Kevin Durant could lift and deadlift 5,000 pounds a day and do whatever he needs. He just ain't going to put on muscle mass. Some of these guys just don't do it. I don't think he ever will. So what we're going to have to do is limit the amount of times that we expose ourselves to contact. And I mean, there was a play against Eastern Illinois that we broke down in that clip where he gets helicopter spun because he thinks it's a good idea to jump over somebody. It's like, no, buddy, it's 1st and 10. You just ran for 6 yards. It's time to slide and live for 2nd and 4. I had an offensive coordinator back in the day that used to say, hey, we got to live to fight another down.
Yep.
But if we're dying out there, we can't fight the next down. Like we have to be willing to fight the next down and concede sometimes, concede defeat, get down, protect ourselves, play for the long haul, right? Because this is a kid who could probably play football for the next 20 years if we make sure we're healthy. I thought Jaden Daniels was the worst at this in college. Jaden Daniels was putting himself, and he looked like shattered glass towards the end of his career at LSU. It's like, buddy, we can't be doing this stuff. We got to protect ourselves. This is something we have to teach these young men because, you know, for their entire lives, they've been able to get away with a lot of this stuff. Not anymore. We got to get down. We got to protect ourselves, live to fight another down.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I'm sitting there scrolling TikTok or Instagram reels at the end of the night and I see, you know, biggest hits in football or biggest hits over the last couple of years, it feels like half of the video was just Jaden Daniels getting absolutely smoked. But
running high. That dude ran all of 6'4". It's like, buddy, can we get our pad level down a little bit? Also, we're one of these linear athletes. We're like 210 pounds at 6'5". Like, we're not huge, man. Can we protect ourselves? You're right. At least Jackson Dart's thick. You know, but he still knocked his butt out too. So like, we got to be careful, man.
Yeah, he got lit up the other day, and that was a rough clip to see there. But looking at Keelan Russell here, I was listening to an interview you did with Ryan Fowler a couple of days ago, one of our good buds here on Tide 100.9, obviously. But you had mentioned catchable ball, and you had been able to, you know, see some guys that have caught passes from Keelan Russell, and the phrase you used was he throws a very catchable ball. Just what does that mean when you say that?
You know, first of all, it's tight spin, consistent spin, right? We're not throwing wobblers. Like, I love Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning was a tough guy to catch because that ball was constantly ducking at everybody. But he played with his neck up. He was always early, so he didn't have to spin it like the rest of them. But and general pacing of the football, right? Like, I know we're on a video or radio and audio right now, so it's hard to do this, but like, a comeback route, right? Like when a wide receiver is working back towards us into a, you know, whether it be man coverage or into a tighter zone window, that ball's got to be thrown firm. That ball's got to be ripped, if you will. Whereas like a deep runner, like a runner away from us, like a deep cross or a dover, as some people call them, deep overs, dovers. That's how football terminology gets made, by the way. Those types of throws, those need to be layered. Those need to be touched up. So like matching the pacing of the football with the actual route concept is an unlocking of quarterback play, right? Not every ball needs to be ripped and not every ball needs to be thrown up like a lollipop. All of these things need to be paced properly within the structure of the offense. And some footballs, man, some quarterbacks just throw really violent footballs. Some of them are I call them heavy footballs. If you've played baseball before, you've heard somebody come back from the dugout or come back to the dugout after striking out and saying, man, he's only throwing 90, but it feels like it's 96. That guy throws a heavy fastball, right? It arrives late and it pops towards the mitt. Sometimes those types of throwers in the football world, those balls are hard to catch, man, because it's arriving violently. Whereas if we're a true passer of the football, Kurt Warner talks about this all the time. If we're a true passer of the football, every ball is catchable. Every ball feels like it was walked down and handed to the wide receiver. And that's what this kid's got to his game a little bit.
Does he elevate the ceiling for Alabama at all this season in comparison to what Austin Mack maybe would have brought to the table if he had been named the starter?
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier on another show, is like, I knew this was over and this quarterback competition ceased to exist in the spring when Ryan Williams talked to the media and he was like, man, that number 12 is like Superman back there. That number 12 just does things. When you start hearing stuff like that, and we live in such a world of explosivity on offense in college football, where if you win the explosive metrics department, you're going to win 90% of your football games. Meaning, if I have more plays of 20 plus yards than my opponent, odds are I'm going to win the football game. Like back in the day, it was rushing yards and turnover margin. We don't really play like that anymore. Now it's about chunk plays and explosives and flipping the field really, really quickly. And if you can do those things at a high rate while also playing with inside the system at a high efficiency rate, you're unlocking things as an offense. And I think your offense or your quarterback's coach even said it best earlier in the week when they announced him as a starter. He's like, man, when we put the ball in this kid's hand, good stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're alluding to, right? Where like, hey, the play might break down. He's going to get flat. He's going to get out of the trouble and the chaos. He's going to keep his eyes downfield and he's going to rip darts. Like that type of stuff really unlocks us offensively. And there is no defensive answer for that stuff. Like we can work scramble drill as much as we want, but there's no defensive coordinator out here that coaches chaos better than the next guy that coaches chaos. Meaning like the quarterback has broken outside of the structure of the offense. Now he's running flat. He's extending the play. There's nobody that has the answer for that. The answer is, well, I hope we stick up in the back end. I hope we grab somebody and are able to make a deflection at the catch point. But you're probably not gonna. You know what I mean? Like a lot of this stuff is defensive coordinators' worst nightmares. And most people used to think it was like, oh, quarterback's legs. There's no answer for a scrambler. Yeah, there is. There's a spy. And nowadays, everybody's got a good enough linebacker that can spy a 4-4 running quarterback because everybody's got a 4-4 running linebacker nowadays. Like, but there is no answer for a quarterback that extends plays with intentions to throw the ball explosively down the field. There is no defensive coordinator that's got answers for that.
We're talking with Brooks Austin, the film guy right here. Brooks, we're based in Tuscaloosa, so talk a lot about Keelan Russell here, but we also cover the rest of the SEC here on the Deep South College Football Show. And I want to get your thoughts on some of these other quarterback announcements that we got over the weekend and early part of next week, starting with Faison Brandon in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an immensely talented football player in and of his own right? Former 5-star himself, 6'4", about 230 pounds now. He is a thick dude, okay? He is a big man, and he's going to need to be because I think they're going to involve him a little bit more in the run game than they would have George McIntyre. George McIntyre is 6'6", 195 pounds soaking wet. Like he would have been broken in half in the red area running the football like this offense is going to need to do. Like all wide choice offenses need to do. Wide choice is based off what? Getting vertical and then lighten boxes to create run lanes, right? Like that's what the whole offense is based off of. Well, all that stuff gets negated once we get inside the 20s because you can't run no 40-yard route when the ball's on the 10-yard line. You just can't. So all that stuff gets negated. We get really, really inefficient in the red area. I think last year, Tennessee finished 77th in red zone efficiency, whereas like South Florida finished top 5. Mm-hmm. Well, why did South Florida finish top 5 when Tennessee, a similar offense, finished 77? Well, Byron Brown would be the answer there, right? The ability to run the football with the quarterback. Faison's going to be able to do this stuff. If you watch his Grimsley, North Carolina tape, like they're playing big-time high school football, and he is doing stuff with his legs that's going to translate on the college level. But more importantly, being able to accurately and consistently and efficiently drive the ball down the field in that wide choice offense is the separator in these quarterback competitions. And it sounded like he was head and shoulders above George McIntyre in that department. So I'm a believer. I'm a believer in the kid, most importantly. I had a chance to watch him up close and personal. His ability to take coaching and apply coaching immediately from a mechanical standpoint is relatively unmatched from what I have seen, right? Like most of these guys require 10,000 hours. Most of these guys require a whole off season of cleaning stuff up. I feel like Faison Brandon is the athletic type of person where, yeah, he's big, tall, and fast, but athleticism to me is also, hey, can I tell you something once and have you fix it immediately? Or are you one of these guys that I have to tell you something in the offseason because I know it's going to take you 6 months to fix it? This guy can fix stuff immediately. He can apply coaching to his mechanical structure right now. He's almost like a computer in that sense, right? Just put a new SIM card in him, give him the new upload, and then he's good to go. That's kind of how this kid is. So I expect, some growing pains, but also a tremendous amount of growth within a singular season from the dude.
Aaron Fila being named the starting quarterback at Florida brings a lot of familiarity with Buster Faulkner there. Just what does he bring to the table, and kind of what is the expectation for Florida with new head coach, new OC, but they've got some familiarity on the offense?
Yeah, so I don't think there was a wrong answer at the quarterback position down there for them. Just it's about keeping the guy upright because I do believe they have the best skill set or skill positions in this conference. When you look at Eric Singleton coming over from Auburn, which was a dramatic failure because of the system, but it wasn't because of Singleton. If you look at his stuff that he did at Georgia Tech, he was one of the more dynamic slot receivers we had in college football because he was used properly. He wasn't used as a Z like the homie Hugh Freeze did. So he'll get used like he's supposed to be, and he'll be dynamic. Everybody knows about Dallas Wilson. If they can keep that kid healthy, he's an NFL X. Vernell Brown can flat out go and is a tremendous Z as well. And then, of course, Jaden Ball. The questions over there to me are more about offensive line play. I know Buster is going to put them in positions to win. All right, I'm as big of a Buster Faulkner advocate as anybody else on the internet. But he's one of the guys that I study the most, right? Like, I'm not a football coach. I'm a football analyst. But if I ever were a football coach, I would study even more Buster Faulkner than I do now, because my offense will look like his. I think what they do offensively, tying their run game to their screen game, their run game to their pass game, everything looks the same. And that creates major problems for defenses. They're going to be good. And they're going to be great in a couple of years. I think they have a window, though. They have a window for how quickly Buster Faulkner is going to get hired out to be a head football coach somewhere else.
Fayetteville, Arkansas, they named KJ Jackson the starting quarterback after he filled in a little bit for Taylon Green last season. Feels like to me, it almost felt like they wanted a little bit of continuity, because he brings a lot of the same stuff that Taylon Green brought last season in terms of both passing and running the football.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch him. He played for an Alabama 7-on-7 group called Gas Crew.
Yep.
All right. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with him over there. I'm watching him at a same event where Dante Moore's out there, a couple of other 5-star quarterbacks, Christopher Vazina, the kid that's up at Clemson. I'm watching this lefty for this Gas Crew. I'm talking about shred, folks. I'm talking about just anticipatory throws, the ball spinning tight, never a wobbler. And I'm like, who is this? It's KJ Jackson. He ends up going to Arkansas, and I'm like, all right, we'll see what's happening here. I expect above average quarterback play. All right.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to be transcendent, but he's not going to make some of the boneheaded mistakes that Taylon Green did, but he's also not going to make the heroic Superman-like plays that Taylon Green did. But you'll have much more of a steady line of progression, as opposed to it look like on a heartbeat sensor, which is what I feel like Taylon Green's game looked like. It's like, pew, and then, pew, like just doing up and down all. And that's no way to play football, man. That's no way to consistently win football games. But, man, we'll see. I'm not the biggest Silverfield guy because I think we went from a program in Memphis, and if you know anything about mid-major football, you'll know that Memphis is a have. Memphis is a haver of haves when it comes to, budgets and spending capabilities and resources and assets in that mid-major conference. And he's going to the have-nots of all have-nots. Like, this is a place where, he's even said this. I think it was in an Athletic article. He said that he spent majority of his off-season, quote-unquote, rallying the troops, trying to get some support for this football program. Yeah, that's the job there. Like, you have to convince people that you actually have a chance to win in that sport, as opposed to giving money to, the basketball team or giving money to the baseball team. Or, like, we live in an era of athletics where it is a balancing of budgets. And if your athletic director is open about the fact that I think they've even said this, where it's like, we don't think we can compete in football, but we know we can compete at the highest levels in basketball and baseball. So that's what we're going to try in. Ooh, man, that's a tough thing to tell your head football coach. So yeah, we'll see.
Blaze Berlowitz beats out Jared Curtis and Vanderbilt, at least for now. It seemed like that was a little bit of we're going to roll with Blaze, but we're going to play them both. Just what does he bring to the table in comparison to, because I thought Jared Curtis was going to win this job from the jump.
Yeah, I mean, there were reports during fall camp that they gave him a quote-unquote Bryce Underwood-like deal, which means he's making anywhere from $3 million to $4 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to sit on the bench. That's a ton of money to sit on the bench. And look, I haven't seen a ton of the Blaze Berlowitz kid. I think he got some mop-up duty last year against Virginia Tech. I thought that was a little gross, to be honest with you. Like, we're up 38 points and you're throwing the ball into the back of the end zone with a minute and a half left in the fourth quarter. Like, but you're Vandy, dude. People used to do this to you, so you got the opportunity to do it to other people. Go ahead, get your money. All good for it. But no, I think it's more about, like, and we said this on our show last night, I think it's more about whether or not they think they can actually keep Jared upright and protect the franchise, right? Like, you don't want to throw him out there to the wolves if you don't have some of your own. Like, but that's so counterintuitive to the reason this kid went to Vandy. This kid went to Vandy for the money and for the Nate Bargatze movie, but this kid also went to Vandy because he didn't think he needed help. He played at Nashville Christian, and he was a superhuman, and they had less than everybody else that they beat for state titles, and it was because of him, right? That wasn't his thought process. That's the truth and the reality. He was that good in high school football. He didn't need a lot of help. But I think that's why he turned down Georgia to go to Vandy. Not like A, early playing time, and B, no, I don't need a great offensive line. I don't need a great defense. I don't need perennial assets everywhere around me. Like, I can do this. So there's a lot going against what we thought going into this, right? Money plays. That's what I think. If I'm paying you almost 3 times as much as I'm paying your backup, you're gonna play. We don't really need help. That's why I'm going to Vandy. Well, that bucks this trend. Also, early playing time. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think it makes much sense to anybody. I think the only thing I can rest my hat on is, like, maybe they told Jared, hey, we're going to give Blaze the first run at this because he's been here. He is a guy that we love. He's a guy that stayed true to this program, and that's what we're rolling with. This has nothing to do with what we think about you. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's been an odd situation because my producer's a Georgia fan, so I was kind of asking him a little bit about it, and he was, talking about the money aspect of it all, and just a really odd situation. But I don't know. We'll see. Brooks Austin, I kept you way too long here, and I do apologize for that. But thank you so much for joining us here. If you've learned something today, head on over to the Film Guy Network on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Brooks, anywhere else they can find your content?
Yeah, at Brooks Austin, BA, and Wyatt, you do not have to feel bad about holding me. Normally, that's my fault. I can't say anything in 60 seconds. I need a full 2.5 minutes. I need that breath. All right, so I appreciate you having me on.
That's Brooks Austin right there. Brooks, we appreciate you, man. We'll have to do this again sometime soon.
No doubt. Just give me a call.
Yes, sir. That's Brooks Austin joining us right there.
Jeep Dodge Ram. Lease a new 2026 Chrysler Pacifica Select for $421 a month for 42 months, $39.99 due at signing.
Stay locked in, Tide fans. This is Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Welcome back to the Deep South College Football Show. Big thanks to Brooks Austin, the film guy, for joining us there in that last segment. Whitman, I thought he did a really good job, not only talking about Keelan Russell in Alabama, but as well as some of these other cats that are starting across the sport of SEC football. Really liked what he had to say about Faison Brandon, and I liked his thought process on the Vanderbilt quarterback decision, because I think that one also confused me a little bit.
No, I think he did a phenomenal job for sure. You can tell there are, I'd say I know a fair amount of football, but there are people like you and me who are, we do our talking on storylines, the games, the coaches, the surrounding effects, the this, the that, and the third. It seems like Brooks is going to make a lot of money, and he's going to make a fine space for himself in the media world with how much he actually knows about the game of football. I mean, you can tell, to be the film guy, you got to know X's and O's. You've got to know whiteboard talk. This guy, he clearly does. He's got to step up on a lot of people in this media sphere when it comes to actually knowing the game, because we can talk the game to death until it's time to start talking about a defensive lineman and a 3 technique, or what distance is the wide receiver supposed to run his route, or what does a quarterback's drop back look like, or cornerback, how they're lining up. I mean, there is a completely different world to the side of talking football that the guys like him are going to do a very good job of in the near future.
Even the difference in talking about like the zip on the ball, right? If you're throwing a 10-yard pass, you probably need to put a little more mustard on that thing. But if you're throwing and I liked how he explained how football terminology happens, right? Because I've heard of a Dover before, but I was like, okay, like I'm not 100% certain what that means, but deep over, okay, now it registers what that means there, and you got to put a little bit more touch on accuracy on a ball like that. So big thanks to Brooks Austin for joining us there in that last segment here. We ran way too long with Brooks. He had a lot of great stuff, and I just wanted to keep hearing more because I kept learning more things about the game of football. So we'll go ahead, take our next time out here, and get ready to wrap up our loose ends and get you ready for the game with Ryan Fowler.
9,000. That's 900,000 for a free consultation. No fees unless we win. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than that of other lawyers.
You're listening to the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Tide 100.9.
Into the Deep South College Football Show. I mentioned at the top of the show, the gloves are off in the SEC. And what do I mean by that? That means that Greg Sankey and the SEC commissioners and athletic directors have now given Greg Sankey, I guess, full permission to punish as he sees some of these teams and players and others that are adding former professionals to their rosters here in college football.
And guess who's stirring the pot again?
There are a lot of ticked off people in Baton Rouge.
Most notably,
a lot of
the CEO of Tigerland, Lane Kiffin himself.
Did Lane speak again?
Quote, "It doesn't work like that. You can't decide, hey, I like that injunction. I don't like that one. That play I kind of like, and I like the way they got him eligible. So we're going to follow those rules, not these." Lane, your son had to come out and tell us that he's the reason you're not on Twitter. Don't make LSU's PR people take away your press conferences too, because we all know how close you probably already are to just going insane as it is without this little magic black box to tell the world how you feel. I can't imagine what's going to happen to you when they take away your poor little microphone.
And looking at it here from On3 Sports, schools that violate the SEC's professional sports rules will result in 50% of a season suspension, 6-game suspension. And in the SEC, that could be really ugly if they suspend you for the back half of your season. I mean, let's say, let's play a little devil's advocate here. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying it should happen, but let's play a little devil's advocate here. And Lane Kiffin gets suspended for the back half of LSU season. Whitman, he would be suspended for the Alabama game. He'd be suspended for the Texas game. He'd be suspended for their road trip to Knoxville, Tennessee, and the battle for the boot against Arkansas.
As funny as it would be to see him not coach in those games, can we just make him sit out the 5th game of the season and let him go back to Neyland? just for the heck of it. That could even be considered a punishment.
Can you sit out Texas A&M so that way we get to see you go back to Neyland Stadium?
Please.
It'd be a lot of fun.
One thing that jumped out to me, though, all 16 teams, and the way that this came out really surprised me in letting you know, hey, just how serious these guys are about this. All 16 teams straight up said, we are okay with if you have power, you don't want to give it up. And in this case,
correct.
People talked about the SEC presidents and ADs gave power to Greg Sankey to punish them how they choose. Think about that. An institution like Alabama or Georgia saying, we can't get punished for this right now. We want this so badly not to happen.
Yeah.
Feel free to punish us if we do that.
It actually wasn't all 16.
Really?
It was not all 16 teams.
Uh-oh.
It was a unanimous vote of the ones that voted. 15-0, according to On3.
Somebody
Guess
didn't
what
vote.
School abstained.
Now, surely it's got to be those bourbon-infused, gumbo-sucking crawfish lovers down in Louisiana that wear a little too much purple for my liking.
Yes, LSU is the one school that abstained from the vote.
Now, how does that look?
But at the same time, LSU's the one that's been, quote unquote, pushing the envelope here in the SEC, within the SEC. They've been the ones that have been kind of pushing this. There have been other schools, Texas Tech's doing it as well. UCLA just picked up a guy who, and that's the thing too, the guys that were picked up, like Tommy Castellanos is going to go play for Texas Tech this season, right? Castellanos never appeared on an NFL roster. Castellanos never put pen to paper on an NFL contract, and he was a class of 2022 recruit. So by proxy, Thomas Castellanos is eligible for this 5-for-5 ruling, and it's actually okay that he's going to Texas Tech. The linebacker from James Madison, right? He was an all Sun Belt guy at James Madison the last couple of seasons here. So the linebacker from James Madison was a class of 2022 recruit that spent all 4 years at JMU. Kurt Cignetti and Bob Chesney were his head coaches at James Madison. He declares for the NFL draft because he has to, because he's out of eligibility, and he doesn't get drafted, and he doesn't get signed. And he does a couple of tryouts here and there, but he never signed an NFL contract or appeared on an NFL roster. He's now playing at UCLA. He's going to play for UCLA this season. That is okay.
That's cool.
That is what the rule is meant for.
Yes.
And the fact that we drug our feet is asinine, but that's neither here nor there. We're in this situation now. That's okay. The Daquan Wrights of the world.
Nope.
You put pen to paper on an NFL contract. You signed with the Cleveland Browns. You played for the Cleveland Browns. And now you're going to come back to college football? Now you want to transfer to LSU?
Now, albeit it was the Browns, but that's one of the 32. You don't walk away from one of the 32 unless you're going to one of the other 31.
I think that's fair. I think that is a fair assessment. So 50% of a season suspension for head coaches. This is a big one. 50% of that sport's annual operating budget. I would assume that means they're slashing it in half.
That is.
Or you've got to pay half of that to the SEC.
That's a lot of money, man.
That's notable money. That's not just,
wow.
All right, yeah, we suspended Lane Kiffin for Louisiana Tech and McNeese and Kentucky and Mississippi State. That's, hey, you operate on a $100 million budget for a year? No, you don't. No, you don't. You now have to operate on $50 million. That's NIL. That's travel. That's expenses. That's recruiting expenses. I guess I would assume this is for the calendar year. And this is such a blip in the pan type of situation, right? Like, this isn't going to be an issue that we are going to continue to have next year. This is simply a blip in the pan. It's going to happen this season. And by week 4, this is all dead in the water and done.
Which I'm so happy that it is. I would like to see somebody further explain that second point. 50% of the sport's annual operating budget. Is that in a fine? Is that you're cutting it in half? I'm thinking
what is that?
Super abstract right now. Does that just mean, like, if we go 100 and it cuts down to 50, like you said, does that just mean that the school has to hold $50 million, like, that they can't do with? Or do they have to give that money up? Because, like I said, I'm thinking very abstract, going to the best of the best in this scenario. What's the worst case? Worst case, a school loses half of their operating football budget for an entire season. How long do we think it took SMU to really recover from the death penalty? I mean, some people are saying, 30 years?
That took a while.
I don't think it's going to take 3 decades to overcome that. But it's going to leave a hole in a school that no new hire can fix.
That's going to hurt a lot. And then the last point here, SEC voting privileges on business matters revoked. They basically said, Greg Sankey, do what you gotta. Do what you gotta do in order to prevent this from happening. And the Big Ten and the SEC have now agreed on this. The Big 12 voted yesterday, and the ACC is expected to vote today. Can Conference USA just decide, hey, you know what? Screw you guys. We'll take them. We're going to take them. Can the MAC do that? Tuesday Night Maction is going to be so great with Daquan Wright playing for Toledo.
When Sam Houston State is in the second round of the college football playoff and we're all watching Diego Pavia throw passes to Daquan Wright while Xavier Harris has a 15-sack season in Conference USA,
I'm here for it.
Shame on him still, but I'm watching the hell out of it.
We got to get out of here and make way for the game with Ryan Fowler. That'll do it for us today here on